Hi there, Andre here from Peak Motorcycles. In this video I'm going to be fitting one of these brake pedals to my Honda CRF300 Rally. So this would be the same for the Honda CRF300L. It's taken me a while to get to one of these videos, and the reason being is brake pedals that fit the 300 just haven't been that readily available. The gear shift lever is the same as the 250, and those are 10 a penny. For some reason Honda decided to put a different sized brake pedal on the 300 to the 250. It's almost the same. It's just this barrel length that's different, and when I do the side-by-side comparison I'll show you exactly how that's changed. Now, there's nothing wrong with the stock pedal, there really isn't. I've been using mine for well over a year now, getting on for 2,000 miles, and it's fine. And the stock ones are kind of nice because they're made of steel, and when you bend them you can just bend them back at least a certain number of times. The problem with these alloy ones is they tend to snap rather than break. Having said that, they do come with what I think is called a brake snake. It's basically a piece of metal wire that you thread around it that basically stops it being pulled too far. You put that around the frame somewhere. And these do come with that. Now, I did manage to track down some of these in Thailand. They come in black like this one, and one in red, which I'll show you in the close-up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a close-up look at this, and I've got also one with the red end. I'm then going to take the stock one off my bike. I'll do a side-by-side comparison, including a weight comparison. Then I'm going to fit this to my bike and make sure it fits, and then I think I'm all done. So this is it. This is what they're like. It's basically a piece of milled alloy with this tube on the end. It just fits in the same pivot points. What it does have is it has this sprung end that can rotate. It's the same on the red one. The only other thing is there is actually this adjustment where you can move the end out. I mean, it's not a huge amount of adjustment, but you can basically move it up one or back one, so you can move this piece forwards or back. Exactly the same on the red one, you know, with the pivoting end. So if you do hit something, it's going to be in that direction. With anything that's going to hit it is going to hit it on that side and will hopefully roll out the way. Anything other than that just uses this piece of steel cable. It's got a little ferrule thing and a little thing that you can do up with a bolt just to hold it in place, and that should hopefully stop it from coming off. That's kind of it really, not a lot else to say about them. Oh yeah, these ones are stamped on the back. I don't know if you can quite see that on the camera, but it's stamped 300 just on there. So I am hoping that these ones do fit the 300 rather than the ones that fit the 250. That's pretty much it from the close-up. I'm now going to take the stock one off my bike. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the heel guard. If you don't have a heel guard, it's exactly the same because it's just this same two securing bolts that will remove the rear master cylinder. And then what I have in there is just a little spacer. So now that's loose, that's actually come up. So there's two springs on here. There's one little spring in there, which is what pulls it up, and then there's the lower spring down here, which pulls it down. But once you've got that off, the lower spring should come out much more easily. There we go. So now that's all loose like that. Just take that out of there. Need to pop that back on. That's in there on mine with the rubber bit towards the top, but I suppose that really should be in the middle like that. So the next thing is that, and you can't quite see it on there, but there is a, I'll show you what it's like when it comes off, that's probably easier, is there is a, you can't see it on the back of here, is a little sprung ring that if I can just pull that out, I'll show you what it's like. So it's basically like that. You can see that. So what I had to do there was basically to pull it away to get that bit off, and then the pin comes out. And the last one is just a little split pin on the back of there. So I'll just get some pliers to straighten up. It's two pins like that that are splayed out. So if I straighten those up, then I should be able to pull that out. Nearly got it. There we go. So that's a split pin that's just come out the back of there, and that pin comes out. Now, someone had asked me on one of the Facebook groups about whether it's possible to adjust the height of the brake. Now, I think the only way you can do it is by adjusting the bolt on that linkage. By undoing that, unscrewing it a little bit and moving it down. But anyway, that is the old brake pedal off. So what I'm going to use from here, let's put that down there so I don't lose it, is that there's a little, you can see it on there, there is a rubber washer, which I'm going to reuse on the new one. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to compare this side by side with the new Zeta one. So there you are, that's them side by side. As you'd expect, they're pretty much the same dimensions. When I show you the ends of them, if anything, the stock one has a slightly longer end than that. but I think that's actually slightly longer that way, so you've got a bit more you can get your toe on. Other than that, everything else looks very similar. Now, the bit that I was most interested in was the length of this barrel here. And when I line these two up, it's quite difficult to tell actually, maybe if I do it from bottom to bottom. Yeah, that does actually look like the same length. Now, when I actually put it on the bike, I'll just make sure everything does line up exactly the same. But as far as I can tell, these do look like it's going to fit the 300, which is a good thing. In terms of length, actually, when I line them up like that, pivot point to pivot point, this one is actually longer. So I suspect that if you move that back one hole, it becomes more like stock. But you can move it quite a bit further. In fact, that's quite a big difference. So I think when that moves back, it's going to be kind of level there. That's probably, what, maybe 10 millimeters that's going to come back. So I think when it's at its backmost position, it's going to be about level with there. Right then, now, if I had to say, I think this is slightly lighter, but I don't think there's going to be a great deal in it. But because everybody loves it, I'm just going to weigh them anyway. Stock steel brake pedal weighs 325 grams. Alloy brake pedal weighs 170, 180. So yeah, pretty much half the weight. Now 180 grams isn't a great deal on a bike that weighs 150 to 160. If I put on the brake snake as well, 191-ish. So yeah, you're probably saving half the weight, but low down on the bike, that really doesn't make a difference. And as I said before, there really is nothing wrong with the steel ones. And the nice bit about them is that when they move, you can bend them back. Well, a certain number of times at least. With these ones, you probably can't bend them back, so you have to just make sure that you don't break them in the first place. And having that pivoting end certainly helps with that, because yeah, if the end of that hits something, it's just going to hit it. Right then, that's enough of that. I'm going to go and put this on the bike. So to fit this back to the bike, it's the reverse of how I put it on, just to give you a very quick look. So yeah, in answer to the question, does it fit? Yes, it does. May already know. Right then, give that a bit of a clean up before I assemble it. So first thing I'm going to do is put this, actually, it's going to give that rubber seal a bit of a clean, because it had a bit of grit on it. Okay, so this basically fits back inside. In fact, I'll put it over there, that's probably easier. Put that over there. Now I'm just going to put some grease around this pivot. You don't really want anything not moving on the bike when it should, but you especially don't want the brake pedal locking either way, either on or off. So load of grease on that pivot point. Put a bit of a dollop in there as well, just to make sure. Right then, so that's going to just slot in there, like that. It's good. The next thing to put back on, again doing this in reverse order, is to put that, in fact I'll give that another grease as well, because that's going to be a swivel on the master cylinder. Cool, that's another piece that fits, again also a relief. I know that this one is a pain, it's like pain to get this tiny little split pin back in at the back, but hopefully you can see it this time from this angle. Actually, that was pretty easy that time. Again, what you can't quite see around the back is I'm just moving that apart. Yeah, just to stop that from coming out. That was pretty easy. Up next, I'll put this washer back on the back. It did actually fall out. I forgot it was on there when I was putting it on. That goes on there, and then we get this pin, which again is this funny sort of split pin. That goes back. There we go. So, and then that pin, you probably still can't see it on the camera, but I'll do my best, is it's just basically to get that out, and then that pin locks on there. And that is it. That is pretty much that on. So the last two things are, first of all, the spring. So this spring, easier to pull down than to pull up, I think. Put that way around. There we go. Okay, and that's that spring on. And then this spring as well. Now that won't be tight until the master cylinder is in place. And now just to put my master cylinder back on. Okay, that is now on. Now, what I'm actually not going to do is I'm not going to fit the brake snake. Now, if I was, I'd probably maybe fit it round, you know, put it through the holes in my bash guard, which are just down in here, and just loop it around the end. To be honest, looking at the amount of clearance that's on that, anything that bounces off my bash guard is also, I think, going to catch the end of that. And I am going to carry my old brake pedal as a spare. So, you know, I'm not as concerned about, you know, breaking it and catching it on something. If anything, I'd be more concerned about actually catching the brake snake on something if it did hit something. So, you know, don't necessarily copy me. If you don't have this extra protection at the front, if you've got an L with a smaller bash plate, then, you know, I would certainly take this, I would put it around something, even put it around the frame, just something that's going to secure it. And yeah, use that to fit it. But for me, I'm not going to put that on, but my reason is just because I've got this Flatland Racing bash guard on, which is pretty big and actually gives a lot of protection to that. So otherwise, I think that's it. I'll just give you a quick close look. So now it's on the bike, you can see how it looks. Hopefully you get a better view of how my guard sticks out like that, so I don't think there's that much risk of that hitting something and pulling off. So that's it, that's my video on how to fit one of these brake pedals to a Honda CRF300 Rally, exactly the same to the Honda CRF300L. I didn't fit the brake snake, but if you feel like it's exposed and you want to attach it to something, then that's certainly an option. They do come with them. So yeah, it's great to see that there's finally bits coming through that can replace the brake pedal. It's taken a while, more than a year before I could get any of these in the UK. So I hope this has been interesting and useful. If it has, maybe I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.